But again, like I said in the beginning, this is the game modern women love to play. Telling men what their place is, how they should behave, and what it means to be a real man. And the irony is, that's a woman trying to lead men. That's a woman stepping in to publicly define masculinity and try to direct it while simultaneously plucking herself out of the proper role as a woman. A woman is already out of order the moment she starts lecturing grown men on how to be men. And women like her need to know their place. Because again, the second they start preaching masculinity to grown men, they've already stepped outside of it. A lot of these women need to stop lecturing grown men about masculinity, and they should probably start worrying about how they're going to raise their sons alone with no father in the home. And even entertaining the idea that the modern woman has any real insight into what masculinity is, or what it looks like or is supposed to look like, how it should manifest. Entertaining that at all is a mistake. And for some reason, a lot of them, her included, like, I don't know if you caught that, but a lot of these women, they don't know the difference between man and woman. Her clearly included, and it's just like, you sound stupid. You're not even using words correctly. I don't know. And it's like so weird. So many of them speak like this. Have you noticed that? They use it wrong. I don't know, but I think I'm going to end the video there. So if you enjoyed that, I'd appreciate a subscription, and I'll see you in the next one.
Hey, at this point, the guy was asking for it, all right? Well, of course, we all know what happens next. That's not the only weird, troubling sign coming out of Europe, as things aren't really looking too good for the continent, especially with what just is happening with Russia. But more importantly, its energy resources, its liberal woke policies, its open immigration, all of the which they're trying to make some changes about. Will they actually work? Are they just symbolic gestures to appease people so they can go along with their liberal New World Order? Yeah, probably. That's probably what's going on. As of course we're going to be arguing what is the current state of Europe, and it's not good. And its projections and its future projections aren't looking too good either. We'll tell you about that and a lot more in this video, so subscribe, click the notification button, as of course the memes are pretty spectacular, as well as the rumor mills about some wild, crazy stuff involving the Rothschild former banker Emmanuel Macron and his wife that picked him up at school when he was 15 and she was 40. Nothing weird to see here at all here, as of course the French and the Germans have been some of the biggest outspoken supporters of Ukraine, as they have provided a lot of escalatory pressures on this international geopolitical conflict between the East and the West in Ukraine. They are some of the biggest cheerleaders for the military-industrial complex. They were the ones subverting. They were the ones going behind Donald Trump's back and saying, hey, Ukraine, don't worry. If Donald Trump's negotiating tough with you, we'll help you out. We'll support you. Don't worry about that. Russia's always bad. Don't worry about it. We got your back. Do our fighting for us. Be our cannon fodder. Please go out there in the front lines, because we don't want to dirty our well-manicured nails. That's essentially the perfect representation of all of these like weak soy boy beta Europeans who are like, oh, the limp wrist, all of them. Macron, limp wrist, all of them. I don't know why. It's just weird, but they just have it. They just have that. As of course Russia continues to barrage Ukraine. There's 50,000 troops amassing on the border, where they are soon about to try to create another buffer zone, and maximum pressure has been reached here, as Donald Trump's even coming out and saying Putin's gone crazy, and the situation is unattainable, especially with the United States saying, no, we're done. We're not gonna do this anymore, as Putin has a vendetta. There was an assassinate assassination attempt on him. And with that assassination attempt, Putin's like, okay, you guys wanna try to take my life? I'll just start bombing your cities. And that's exactly what he has done. As of course, there's no rules for war. People need to understand. People think, oh yeah, they're gonna be, respectful in the set, but no, there's no boundaries. The level of escalation, the level of fighting that keeps intensifying, that just keeps getting more underhand and more evil, especially with all the latest technological advancements, especially with the long-range missiles that the Germans are going to be soon providing the Ukrainians. It's all bets are off. It's a situation that is absolutely wild. And again, this situation is not looking good. As Donald Trump says, you know what, I'm washing my hands of this. Zelensky doesn't want to play ball. Putin's gone crazy. Why should I care? This is not my fight. And you know whose fight it's going to be? It's going to be the Europeans. Which again, I made videos a couple weeks ago saying Europe's going to fall. Europe's going to be left with this mess that they're actively engaging in, that they're actively trying to prolong, that they're actively trying to expand. And then they think we're going to do all the fighting for them. Donald Trump says, no, we're not. As Germany and other allies just scrapped their limitations to Ukraine, specifically when it comes to long-range missile systems. This, of course, will anger the Russians. This is during the midst of negotiations, okay? There's negotiations happening right now. Right now. And during these negotiations, we have assassination attempts, we have long-range missiles being sent there, we have the bombings of the city. This is not a negotiation. The negotiations, Donald Trump did what he could. He brought them to the table. He says, Russia, Ukraine, you guys are both very difficult to deal with. You guys both kind of double-cross me. You guys, here, I'll leave you here at the Vatican, okay? You guys talk it out. May God praise you all and give you peace. So far, it's not working. Not working at all. It's looking really bad, especially now with Germany announcing, you know what, we're going to remove all the restrictions here. So is the UK, so is France, and we're going to improve the Ukrainian ability to strike deep inside of Russia, and that's one of the main things that Ukraine has. Ukraine has the ability to strike Russia, and Russia doesn't like that. Russia has more manpower, they have a lot more munitions, cheaper, made faster than, of course, the Western allies and the Western powers that pay top dollar for it. It's just crazy what's happening. As the German Chancellor just said, yep, listen, we're going to give them the best stuff to hit Russia. Again, Russia is a nuclear threat. I don't understand what they're trying to do here. There should be a campaign being like, look, guys, let's try to negotiate. Let's try to, save face. We might lose something, but at least we don't continue this senseless kind of loss of life. Can we at least do that? Nope. They're doing the exact opposite of that. As Zelensky is expected to go to Berlin, as of course Berlin and Germany is going to be the main key backer of Ukraine, as Germany is facing some very serious consequences with their own way of living their life, which is liberal and woke and just counterintuitive to economic capitalistic pressures, and they are slowly and surely becoming a failed state. We'll tell you why in a little bit. Before we do, we wanted to tell you about WeAreChange.shop. We got a lot of great supplements. We got a Father's Day bundle that's coming up soon, but one of the greatest products that we have up there is TakeCalm.com. You click here on Klaus Schwab having a suckling great time about his CD. Traveling, this is one of the supplements that, of course, I brought with me. I brought my other supplements too in a little supplement, little baggie as well. But Take Calm is one of the best supplements that I have, that I appreciate, that I use, that is made here, not just manufactured, not just packaged, but like grown here inside of the United States. Really great stuff, 1,000 milligrams, full spectrum. It helps me, it helps a lot of my friends out, a lot of people that that have been on my show, that I talk to. I don't like to give out their names because I don't like to violate their privacy, but a lot of them are dealing with like some severe issues when it comes to like anxiety and panic attacks, and I'm like, hey, check this out. This might help you. It helps a lot of them, okay? It helps me. It helped me when I was going through my own individual health struggles with panic attacks and just freaking out, and I was like, what's going on here? Oh, it could be, of course, all the crazy reporting that I did for you. Yeah, that probably has something to do with it, but anyway, I'm not here to play victim. Don't be a victim. Be strong and be bold, and check out TakeHome.com. A lot of the similar products that are this usually sell for about like $120. We made sure to make it affordable, just so you guys can have it because it's a good product, and it's not the same product that, of course, you get at the gas stations. Okay, a lot of people want CBD gummies with all the like sugars and nonsense. You don't know what you're getting. Okay, trust me. I did my research. I did 2 years of research on this, and this is the best stuff on the market. I tested so many different products out there. So many fillers, so many chemicals, so many like nasty things in there in order to make it taste. This tastes natural. It tastes great. Really good stuff. I enjoy it. You will too. WeAreChange.shop. Check it out and do your research before putting anything into your body. Now, if you're in Europe, you're going to need some of this. You're going to need some of that. Because the economic outlook, the projections of what's going on here are not looking too good here, especially for the Germans, the kind of engineering breadbasket of Europe. And again, Ukraine is the breadbasket of Europe. This type of war, this type of conflict absolutely disrupts a lot of the global supply chains, but also it disrupts what Germany used to be kind of relying on, and that was Russian energy. And now, with Ukraine blowing up the Nord Stream pipeline, even according to the German investigators and government officials, they came out and said, yeah, Zelensky and his assets came to Germany, they blew up our joint pipeline, which allowed us to have a lot of energy, as we are literally getting rid of our nuclear reactors. Like, oh, this is, now you would ask, why are they getting rid of their nuclear reactors? Well, they have climate targets. They have woke, liberal, Green New Deal energy policies that have passed that are absolutely crippling and destroying the poorest people in their country. Okay, that's what's happening here. They're like, oh, we need to implement this global UN vision that essentially helps us rich and screws over all the poor people. Why do they screw over all the poor people? I guess they just hate poor. I don't know. But when you raise energy prices, which of course you do, especially when you get rid of your energy production, when you get rid of your coal production, in Germany, they're starting up their coal manufacturing. Why? Because they understand that they're going to be attacked. France, they're building as many nuclear reactors as they can. Germany, on the other hand, is saying, no, nuclear reactors, yeah, we're going to decommission those. And they decommissioned their last 3 operating nuclear power plants in 2023. Why? Because somehow they say it's bad for the environment. When it's not. There's no argument to be made here other than some kind of irrational fears about Chernobyl. There's no reason to get rid of your nuclear power plants. It is the cleanest, cheapest form of energy. And along with coal, and along with other things like fracking, Germany's saying, no, we're not going to produce any energy. We're going to be dependent on other people. Who's the next biggest energy supply? Russia. Okay. And then they're like, oh no, we'll buy it from China. China's buying it from Russia and giving it to Germany. It's crazy. And it's like, oh yeah. You just make energy more expensive. That sounds great. That sounds pretty hunky-dory there. As of course, yeah, but don't worry. There's new climate targets that prevent you from having big vehicles and RVs, that prevent you from being able to heat your home, that prevent you. Of course, it's just about limiting energy. When you limit energy, you limit life, and you limit your economic potential, which Germany's doing. It's like they're literally self-sabotaging. They're picking a fight with their biggest energy producer, with the Russian bear, and they're like, as we do that, we'll make sure that we'll be more easily digestible for you. We're going to roast ourselves. We're going to cover ourselves with seed oils. And we're just going to poke a bear. Yeah, that sounds great. Yeah, great idea. It's an idiotic, stupid idea. Germany was known for its kind of financial might and its engineering. And right now, if you just don't have the energy, you make everything that much more expensive, especially when you also have an open border policy. But don't worry, people who criticize the open borders, they get dealt with by the police there that arrest you because you criticize some of these green new energy policies that offended some people.
That's clear. Is it a crime to insult somebody in public?
Yes.
And it's a crime to insult them online as well?
Yes. The fine could even higher
Yeah.
if you insult someone in the internet.
Why?
Because in internet, it stays there. If we are talking face to face, you insult me, I insult you, okay, finish. But if you're in the internet, if I insult you or a politician,
It sticks around forever.
yeah,
Cut this out, follow this one. You, bootlegger! Soy boy, effeminate, little beta. Look at that. I said that in Germany. I would be arrested by this scheisserhead here who frickin' thinks that speech is something that should be criminalized, which I think is wild. I think it's insane. I think it's bonkers to try to protect people's feelings with the state from any type of criticism or anything that might offend them. It is a ridiculous way to live life, but that's how they live life. And then and this is, by the way, Donald Trump and his administration, specifically the Vice President of the United States, went to Germany. I believe it was a meeting in Rome, and they said, listen, guys, we got to get on the same page here. You guys got to respect free speech. We got to start working together. We got to have some shared common values here. The German government responded by releasing this type of 60-minute interview saying, yes, we arrest you if you repost something that offends me. And I'm like, you crazy. Okay. And then they bragged, and then they showed videos of people's phones and videos being confiscated. And then they cheered. And then, like, oh, yeah, we take their phones. Yeah, it's so good.
How do people react when you take their phones from them?
They are shocked. Yeah, they're so shocked. They so suck. Oh, yeah. Monsters. Tyrannical monsters out there. Because, again, they hate anything right of Marx. Let's just be real with ourselves. There's even members of the German government that are trying to get rid of any party that is, of course, calling them out and is seen as an alternative to the German people. And again, a lot of the German people are already downtrodden. They're already lost. A lot of them aren't reproducing. They're not having babies. They're bringing in immigrants. Those immigrants are becoming citizens, and their citizens are voting overwhelmingly left. Have you heard this plan before? Yeah, I've seen this plan trying to carry out itself. As of course, they're trying to ban the ADF party in Germany, which is ridiculous. And even Meghan Markle herself, the former German chancellor, is coming out and saying the EU will collapse over the border issues, as she is saying Europe is turning its back on itself. Why? Because they have open border policies. With those open border policies, people walk on in, and they, of course, strain the system that they are dependent on, because this new form of immigration predominantly is with their hand out asking for more money, more support, more assistance that the German government just gives them by taking away money from their citizens. As right now we have new polls, according to YouGov, that are highlighting how over half of Germans would leave the country, predominantly over what's happening with immigration and the economy. As, what did you think was going to happen here with the economy, Germany? You destroy your energy infrastructure. You arrest people who, of course, are critical of your policies. And then on top of that, you allow people into this country that don't do anything but take money. And now you're like, oh, hey, the working German people are just going to pay for it. And the vast majority of people said that they would leave. They can't because of jobs, because of family, because of, their kind of, life that they've established themselves here. As the German government is still paying NGOs to ferry migrants to Europe. You heard that correctly. And now, the German government, after importing immigrants to all of Europe, are saying, oh, we got to close our borders now. We're going to have tougher border controls. Poland's like, wait, hold on, you're going to border them in, but then you're going to make it difficult for like Polish people to come in? As we're part of the Shanghai zone, we're supposed to be able to, But why is this situation? Why is this situation unfolding? Well, the German government understands that its citizens are pissed off that they have open borders. They're pissed off that they have to pay welfare. They're pissed off that they have to work to finance the life of people who are, not always, but predominantly freeloaders, who predominantly are told, come on in, we'll give you free stuff. And they come in and they take advantage of the free stuff because that's what some people in some cultures do. Now, Poland's like, okay, this is stupid. Why are you making it difficult for the Polish people to move forward? As that Germany's border crackdown is just bad theater, as we specifically have politicians that promised, yeah, we're going to reduce immigration from day one, but as political right, this approach thus far has been largely symbolic. Of course it has been, as they're still paying those boats to go in there. And again, they're talking about, no, these are the refugees. We need to help the refugees. Refugees need help. Okay, if you're seeking political asylum and you're leaving one country, you go to the next country, right? You don't ship them over. You don't transport them over thousands of miles, right? And then take other people's money to finance their kind of lifestyle. Why would you be doing that? How is that in the benefit of the people living there, the people that are actually, quote, seeking asylum? This whole thing has been bastardized. This whole thing has been scammed. This whole thing is done in a way to specifically make sure that we are seeing the internal destruction of Europe, which will soon probably lead to the collapse of Europe, which is absolutely insane because, again, as a European, I love my country. I love where I come from. I love my culture. But to see the moves, especially now after USAID, by the way, got involved and helped a lot of these leftists fortify their positions, especially in Poland now. When we're seeing this situation, and how it unfolds right now, there's nothing moving forward that is going to be good for the social, economic, and political outlook of Europe that is becoming more isolated, that is becoming more insular, that is becoming more autocratic, technocratic, and dystopian. And that right there is the main problem. It makes me grab my CBD. Get yours on takecom.com is the website. Make sure you get your CBD there. Great stuff. Really, really awesome stuff. I love you guys. Stay tuned for more, all here exclusively on youtube.com/wearechange.
What's wrong, everyone? Jeremy here from The Quartering, fresh off of half a day off yesterday. Worked, did my normal live stream and stuff, but lots of news today to go through. And no ads today, other than I'm just going to remind people about if you're a YouTube only viewer, my Quarter Cast channel. We live stream every single day, Monday through Thursday at 2 Eastern, and then Fridays at 1 Eastern. We also upload clips from the show, and you can obviously watch the show later when it's out. So give us a try. We've got Melanie Mack, Anna Claire Brimlow, we've got Luke Wardowski, and many more on the show every day. So please check us out. I'll leave a link in the description, or you can just search for Quartercast on YouTube and follow. Otherwise, if you're a Rumble viewer, you already know what's up. Now, bad news for Austin Metcalf, as he is now facing, he will be charged as an adult, and which increases the maximum sentences and much more. I want to start with this video from Reverend Jordan Wells. Again, I talked about this yesterday. Him and his wife both trying to stop Carmelo Anthony from getting his diploma, something I completely support. Listen to this.
Jeff Metcalf, the father of Austin Metcalf, his child, he filed a complaint with Texas because that school, which is probably some liberal school or some liberal principal, allowed, and was scared of the backlash, allowed Carmelo Anthony to graduate. He shouldn't have been able to graduate. He should have been completely expelled from the school. If you're expelled, you don't get to graduate. He should have had to go to a new school if he wanted to graduate. He shouldn't have been able to go to that school and graduate. And just imagine the memory of his father that this boy got to graduate like nothing's going on and nothing happened. And all they didn't allow him to do was not go to the graduation. That is so horrible. And the superintendent should be in trouble. The parents should be upset that they let a criminal graduate like nothing happened, like he didn't murder somebody.
This on top of new news that the mother of Austin Metcalf, I don't know if they're divorced or if they were never married or whatever, she also was writing emails asking Frisco ISD to delay. According to a response to an open records request, there are apparently over 104,000 emails between staff members mentioning the names Jeffrey Metcalf, Megan Metcalf, and Carmelo Anthony since April 2nd. To obtain every email, I would need to pay $1,800. I'm currently trying to find a way to narrow down my request and search terms. However, the number of emails is still insane to me. I can tell you right now, I will happily pay for that. You can let Sarah know. Even though she blocked me on social media, I will write a check right now for the $1,800. Because I want them all. I want to know what all these teachers were saying. I want to know what the principal was saying. I want to know what they were talking about in terms of the graduation. I want to know all of that. And I think, obviously, some of that will come out at the trial, but I'd like to see that released to the public so that we can start pouring through it. And maybe find something that they'll miss when it's 104,000 emails. Like, that's insane. 104,000 emails among staff for, talking about this case. People say some people are upset that Carmelo Anthony may receive a life sentence in prison. They seem to forget Austin Metcalf was already given a death sentence. Now, some people have talked about and used in their titles, and I may use it in the title in this too, does he now face the death penalty because he's charged as an adult? From what I have found, he does not. His case does not qualify for that. Certainly, he could face up to 20 years in prison. He's not going to get that. I'm telling you right now, I'm trying to manage expectations. He's going to get somewhere around, by the way, if anything, he's going to get somewhere around 7 years, and he'll be let out in 2 to 3. They're going to say it was a fight, there was no premeditation there, even though he brought a knife. They're going to try to say, it was two boys fighting that escalated, it could have happened to anybody. That's what they're going to say in court. I don't know. I don't think that the school should be allowing to graduate, but let's look at this new report. Teen charged, Carmelo Anthony will be tried as an adult. Carmelo will likely face life in prison with a chance of parole at 40 years. I'm on record right now telling you there is no way he gets that sentence. 17-year-old kid ain't getting a 40 years in prison or life sentence. I just don't see it happening. We've got a sympathetic black female judge who has already shown her willingness to take it easy on him, and she would be the one, as far as I understand how this stuff works, not the jury, who will decide his time in prison. She will give him the minimum that she thinks she can. That's my opinion. I hope I'm wrong. Anthony will be tried as an adult since Texas is a concurrent jurisdiction state. According to Capital B, the laws allow prosecutors to charge minors, typically 16 or 17, as an adult with certain crimes. The Collin County District Attorney's Office, which is north of Dallas, is prosecuting Metcalf's case, and Anthony was charged with first degree back in April, but a grand jury will review the evidence and decide whether to formally indict on that charge or a lesser charge. So that they still have a chance to give him, now I don't know when this grand jury is going to, be on this, but there are many, many, many off-ramps for liberal judges and, liberal district attorneys to give this kid a break, and I just have seen too much to think that they're going to throw the book at him. I just don't see it happening. If he's convicted of the bigger charge, he could face life in prison with a chance of parole after 40 years. He will not face a death penalty. The Supreme Court has said that you cannot seek that against someone who has committed a crime when they're 17. You can't even get them life without parole. That would be something we couldn't do even if we wanted to. Collin County District Attorney Greg Willis said, as highlighted by the Daily Wire last month, Anthony's bond was initially set at $1 million, but Collin County judge agreed to lower the bond to $250,000 and granted him house arrest at his parents' home. The racially charged case made headlines again earlier this month when it was reported that Anthony would also be elected. Just look at how this is going. Okay, just follow it with me. Every chance the judge, a judge or a cop or district attorneys or whatever have had the opportunity to give Carmelo Anthony a break. Every opportunity they've had to lower his penalty, they have taken it. They lowered the bail from $1 million to $250,000. They gave him parole, probation, parole. I don't know what it's called. They released him. They gave him house arrest instead of letting him rot in prison. I mean, every chance that this legal system has had to give Carmelo Anthony a break, they have given it, they have done it. So there's simply no scenario I see them. First of all, we have another big crossroads. Will they charge him with first degree, or will they give him the lesser charge? I am telling you, they will. I bet right now they will give him the lesser charge. I mean, I'm all over this case. I'm reporting every possible development. So, by the way, if you're not following or subscribed here, make sure you do so. And you also subscribe to the live stream channel, because we talk about the case there, too, in a more uncensored way as well. Jeff Metcalf, the father of Austin Metcalf, said he wants answers about the decision to let Anthony graduate high school, but he's being stonewalled by Frisco ISD Superintendent Mike Waldrop. Yet another opportunity to give Carmelo Anthony a break, and they chose to do it. The school had every right to expel him and not let him graduate, but they chose, again, black female principal, they chose to give him a break. Everywhere down the line, Carmelo Anthony has gotten the maximum break possible, and Austin Metcalf is still no longer with us. You know, I'm curious how they arrived at the decision. There's a movement online to grant Metcalf an honorary diploma, but that stirred up more feelings from Jeff Metcalf. That would be great because his name will be called right before his brother's name. But the fact of the matter is, it's not going to bring my son back. I mean, I agree. You know, every chance the system, whether it's education or criminal justice, has had to give Carmelo Anthony a break, they have taken it. Why on earth does anyone think that they're going to suddenly get tough on him when it comes to sentencing, or when it comes to charges? They're not going to. They're going to let him get off with the easiest. I mean, look at the guy that's defending him. Activist connected to Carmelo Anthony has lengthy criminal history, including, slapping around someone he supposedly loved. This guy's lengthy criminal history. Everybody that works in his organization is a criminal. He's got other criminals illegally working as bodyguards. Nobody's charging him with that. You know, they raised $550,000 fraudulently because they said a chunk of it was going to go towards, home protection and bodyguards, which they obviously don't need. The whole thing is a scam, a hustle, and to bring home the end of this video, when given the opportunity to lower bail, they did it. When given the opportunity to give him house arrest instead of letting him sit in prison, they did it. When given the opportunity to let him graduate or not, they let him do it. When given the opportunity to charge him with the correct crime here, they are going to chicken out. Mark my words. I sure hope I'm wrong. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to leave a like on it. If you haven't yet, subscribe or follow down below. We'll talk to you again real soon.
Welcome back, Tribe. I have an episode here from Piers Morgan. They're going to war with this feminist over here, the far-right blonde woman. Everybody on the panel is just ganging up on her. But we'll just start it off and skip through the most ridiculous parts. Get into it.
One of the reasons why women had to go into the workforce was because they had to help women their family.
Okay, I have a question for you, Clementine. It's a very simple question. I think it'll be an interesting question to ask you. What is a woman?
I'm not going down the path of debating trans women with you.
Trans women. Asked you what a woman is.
Okay, I'll tell you. But I know that because this is your tactic. This is what you do. What is a woman? I'll tell you what a woman is.
Shouldn't be controversial.
I'll tell you what a woman is. A woman is someone who has at least at one point in her life felt scared of a man.
Sorry?
So, fatigue, feminist fatigue. Look, everybody's what?
So
But you never, but you guys.
Look at this. Look at this. Everyone, the look on their faces. This is derangement.
Oh, I
So
talk
wait,
about that.
hang on.
You guys
That's
never want
what
to
I
talk
was saying
about
earlier.
that.
So any man who's ever felt afraid of another man is a woman?
No.
What are you talking
That's
about?
not what I'm saying.
You know,
That's
this is
not what I'm
exactly why
saying.
you're wearing that shirt that says repeal. You should put the 19th under it. It's unbelievable. What are you talking about? A woman, anybody who has ever at one point been afraid of a man, it's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Do you have an actual argument here?
Would you let me finish speaking, or
Yeah, how long is it going to take for you to finish? How long is it going to take for you to finish?
Yes, do you really just invite people on your show to be interrupted like this?
Well, Clementine, look, with all due respect, we did do a bit of research into what you said about me in the past, so I think I'm entitled to give you...
So you already know what I think about that question, because I've written about you asking that question.
Yes, you have. In fact, you said, like, all of
So
the...
why would you ask it again,
Hang on.
when you know what my
I'm just
answer to
to
that is?
enlighten the audience who have no idea what you're talking about,
Okay.
or me. Like all of the biggest, that's me apparently, currently jumping on the transphobic shuttle to Ding Dong Station. Morgan wants you to believe this is about fairness and equality, specifically fairness and equality in women's sports. That was exactly what it was about. And the problem is, Clementine, with all due respect to you, the reality is...
I doubt it. I doubt it's going with due
I'll
respect.
treat you with perfect respect, but your inability to just simply state what a woman actually is, particularly given 2 weeks ago in the UK, the Supreme Court made it very clear that a woman is a biological female. That's it. It's a scientific fact. The fact that you can't answer that is part of the problem.
I'd like to know, the thing is that I would like to know why you, in particular, are so obsessed with this definition of what a woman is.
Because the world's gone crazy. We can't have a simple conversation rooted in biology, in the real world. In the last 15 years, we've had this woke agenda pushed down everybody's throats, and we're sick and tired of it because you could clearly look at any woman here on the panel and know that they're all women. We have 2 men, 3 women. Just because Andrew here shaves his beard, puts on lipstick, and wears a dress, doesn't mean we need to tell or at least behave in the manner that he is a woman biologically. That's insane. Nobody cares what's going on in here, in a brain, encased in the skull. That's ideas. Those are feelings. Those are thoughts. It has nothing to do. If you feel like something, you could feel like a dragon, you could feel like a wolf, you could feel like a spaghetti monster. It doesn't matter. Man or woman, you can feel whatever you want to feel in there. That doesn't mean that out here in the real world, you start to look like a spaghetti monster. You start to look like the thing you're feeling. That's not how it works. That's called a mental disease. That is an illness. It's that simple. Now, there's an illness upon society where we're forced to accept that illness is encased in the psychology of a person. That's all.
Firstly, how does it impact you in any way? Secondly...
See, okay, and then we're going to move on to, they have more conversations about, you know, what is a woman, and then the trad wife conversation, and then it goes into, this is Andrew's wife here from what I've been told, and that she is going to answer the question for the feminists of, do you work? They're trying to catch her in like in a gotcha moment about marriage and its effects on women, emotional labor, all that stuff.
We're sending them to daycare and we're sending them to state-run schools, and that's who they're being raised by.
All right, Clementine, your response to that?
Do you work, Rachel?
No.
You don't make any money from your podcasting?
I make some money, but
your appearances?
I do maybe
You do some form of paid employment?
Yes. First of all, my children are grown up now. I'm 44 years old, so I had my first one at 20. They're grown up. They're moved out.
Yep.
But I work still very, very part-time, maybe a couple hours a week at most.
But do you have...
Because my primary responsibility is to my husband.
But you've got 5 children, right? Is that correct? And they're all grown up and all moved out, or you've still got some young children?
The youngest ones
we still have a couple
teenagers.
at home, and by the way, just making an argument from hypocrisy.
So can I just ask you, do you find, even with the small amount of part-time work that you do, which you do get paid for, do you find satisfaction from that? Do you get satisfaction from that work?
It's not the money, because Andrew makes far more than I make. I make a very, very tiny amount of money off of, you know, my book and a couple of appearances here and there, might sell a few books. It's practically nothing. If I was doing it for the money, it'd be a waste of even a couple of hours. But what I would say to that is, we're not against women doing other things. So if you look at the Bible and the Proverbs 31 woman, she does a lot of things. She's out buying land, she's making decisions, she's doing all kinds of things. The difference is that she's doing them under the purview of the guidance and leadership of her husband and for her family, not for a corporation, not for her own glory, not for her own ambition.
A lot of that depends on whether or not you have faith in the Bible, which obviously not everyone does. But the reason I asked you those questions wasn't because I was trying to set you up or anything like that. It doesn't surprise me that you would get some satisfaction. To me, the point of the question wasn't about the money. It's about the work. It's about the passion that you put into it. And the reason I asked was because a multi-year study done by Adrienne Freck and Sarah Damaske, found that the mental health of women who worked full-time after the birth of their first child was significantly higher than those who didn't have paid work at all. So I think that taking into account the fact that for a lot of women, and this is also what Betty Friedan found when she wrote The Feminine Mystique, and Stephanie Coontz backed this up as well in her book, The Way We Never Were, which is a history of the
Are you married, Clementine? I've no idea about your situation, but are you married? Do you have kids? What's your deal?
I've got a kid. I'm not married.
Okay, but you have a...
So I'm a single mother.
Okay.
And I have a very excellent relationship with my son's father. We co-parent together very well, but we're not married. We don't live together. I certainly have found, since having a child, I mean, I've always worked anyway, but I've been working since I was 13 years old, but I've always found that work for me is very satisfying. And this, what I'm saying is that these are the findings of multiple historians, anthropologists, scientists, that
no, these are the findings of die-hard feminists who are only investigating this from a feminist point of view. They're already sold on the ideology, and what they do is they cherry-pick data.
She's a world-renowned historian. She's not specifically a feminist. She's a world-renowned historian. And these were her findings as well. So you cannot deny the reality. If when you look at the fact that
women can't do anything else, we're not saying women can never leave the house. We're not saying you can't have other things in your life that you find fulfilling.
You're suggesting that the primary role for a woman, and that, you know, in your faith, I'm not going to discredit that, but your faith in God says that this is what you believe God says that you should be doing, but the primary role for a woman is that she should be staying at home, that she should be devoted to her husband, she should be devoted to her children. The facts do not back that up. The facts of familial satisfaction don't back that up.
Well, hang on. Okay, let me jump in. Hang on.
Yes, they do.
Hang on. Sorry, Clementine. I think you've chosen the wrong moment to say that. You've clearly got a woman here on the panel, but the facts completely back that up. She's had a lot of kids. She's very happily married.
She knows that there would be exceptions to the rule, but statistically speaking,
you've literally got one sitting there in front of you.
That's completely untrue, though. For her to say that this one study, that this one survey is going to tell us something. First of all, we have two.
It was a multi-year study.
Let me ask you, Clementine. Let me ask Clementine. When you were you married or not? I can't remember what you said. Were you married?
No, I've never been.
Okay. Well, when you were with your partner before you broke up, who did the household chores and stuff like that? And how did you delineate that as a feminist?
It was a struggle, because even in lots of supposedly egalitarian households, you know, again, the data backs up that even women who make more money than their...
The data backs up, but she says that. I think she'll go on to say it's what her conversation looks like, that she did the chores. A diehard feminist, Clementine Ford, that said, I don't know if you guys are aware, but a few years ago when we were going through the pandemic, she said, I wish COVID was offing more men, and left the tweet up. I remember covering that on society's hatred of men. This is nuts. This is that woman that was wishing that COVID was erasing more men from planet Earth.
Partners or their spouses tend to do more unpaid domestic labor. This is the terrible bind that women are in.
Who did most of the domestic chores?
In my house?
Yeah, you did.
Me.
Okay. Rachel, who does most of them in yours?
That's the reality for
hang on. Rachel, who does the domestic stuff in your house, Rachel?
I do absolutely all of it, and the thing I want to say to
you're very similar. I mean, it seems to me you're both...
I care far less about women's fulfillment in careers than I care about children and how they're being raised, and I want her to justify to me why we should be paying low-wage daycare workers to raise our children rather than doing it ourselves. How does it make sense to take your duty of motherhood and simply put it on a different random woman? How does that system make sense? Why should we tell women to do that?
If you would like to stay at home and raise your children,
you're not answering my
You're not answering the question.
My question is not what's good for children
it's a question of choice.
To be raised by
Question of choice.
No, it's not a
It's actually
question of
not
choice.
worth.
No.
It's not worth
Why
for
is it
children
better outcome?
to be
Why
raised
is
by
it
working
better?
mothers. That's
Why is
also
it better?
You know, the answer is that not all women should be mothers. Just like not all women deserve to be married or are marriage material. You can say the same for men. Not all men are men. We know this as men. And not all men should be husbands or would make good husbands. It's a common sense thing to say that out loud. But you took a woman who clearly has animosity towards men. She had a child with a man who her relationship failed, and now they co-parent, raising I believe she has a son. Her child is a son in a household that's very venomous towards all things masculine. So what do you think the outcome of that kid will be? Now, how is it that a woman, this is a crazy conversation to even have, who's allowed to have children or not? Because clearly there's some people that shouldn't be parents, have no business being parents. So how do we as society, what do we say where you would make a bad mother and that you shouldn't be having kids? It's a better outcome for the kids to not be born at all, for you to just not procreate, because you're clearly not mentally fit, right? That's a deeper rabbit hole that we're not going down, that they're not asking her, oh, maybe you shouldn't be a mom in the first place, maybe you shouldn't have had a kid. But, you know, the argument from the other side will be, what's your God-given right? And, you know, and then where does that conversation even begin? Interesting thing to think about.
The facts back that up. There is no
No, they
study to
don't.
suggest
There's
that women
no
who
facts.
work
Listen, lady,
raise
there are
children
no
who are less
facts on
happy. That is not true.
There are no facts on planet Earth that back up that single mother households have better outcomes. That's one. Two,
Aren't that
that
raising
outsourcing your
guys
specifically
hang on. Let me finish, lady.
You bring in your
If you outsource the raising of your children, you're already making yourself a single mother. Just so you know. Here's what's going on. Just so that you understand.
Are you a single father because your wife raises your children to you?
Lady.
Excuse me, don't call me lady.
Can you let me finish? Can anybody finish a point? Can anybody finish a point? Or
I don't know,
only
do you have a point?
Are only you allowed to? I'm trying to make one. So
you don't seem
if
to be making a point, Andrew.
If you outsource your children's raising to strangers, answer Rachel's question and tell her how that makes more sense than having the child raised by their own biological mother. Actually answer.
Well, in my case, it makes more sense because I need to make money to pay my bills to raise my child. But in many other families, it makes...
What if you depended on your husband's income?
You see the problem of how we ended up here.
Now it's my turn to finish. But actually, again, if you knew what you were talking about, if you actually read anything about the data on these things rather than just reaching into your gut for a feeling that feels
Let's
true.
go over the data. Show me the data that shows that if you outsource childcare,
there was a father in the household.
Let me bring Emily in, because Emily, hang on.
No statistical data to support the fact that children raised by mothers who work are less happy than children raised by mothers who work.
All the statistical data points to the fact that single mother homes are worse off for a child's outcome in life. From drug abuse to education to wealth creation to self-esteem to ambition, to goals, literally everything, health outcomes, mental outcomes, earning outcomes, all of it, all from single mother households, all outcomes are worse. There's not a single point that you can make where a single parent household, unless we're talking fathers, because they seem to have single parent households that are fathers, seem to have similar or equal outcomes for the children. And even then lose out on the fact that you didn't have a mother, so maybe on the mental side, there are some parts that obviously are less, because no single parent can replace two parents. It's asinine and stupid to even think that you could approach the same outcomes in any way whatsoever as a single parent. It's false. But again, it goes against her entire narrative and her entire belief system that because I am a single mother, she is one, is essentially what she just said earlier. So you have to cherry pick data and statistics to make yourself feel better about what you're potentially bringing into the world, a child, and their outcomes from your decisions to leave your man, to be a feminist, to live this progressive lifestyle, and not do it the old traditional way of staying married. It goes against your entire life. Of course you cannot argue this fact.
I would never try and stop Rachel.
There's so much overwhelming data.
That's her choice. That's her choice to do that.
There is so much overwhelming data.
Because that's her choice.
All right, let me bring Emily in. Let me bring Emily in.
He has noticed that.
Emily was trying to say something.
You don't want your daughters and your nieces being forced to stay at home to raise families.
I don't want
There is
my kids to